Hey, this is Passy from Passy's World of ICT, the guy with the white hat, with another program in our VBNet Fun and Games series, and this is the top 5 reveal, and this lesson has, where are we here? Come on. This lesson has free resources download. So yeah, for this lesson we decided for teachers watching the video, we would supply free resource downloads so that you could see what a resource pack looks like from Passy's World of ICT, try it out with your students, and give us some feedback at passyworld@hotmail.com about how you find that to be. But anyway, this is this week's lesson, so let's get into it. All right, so in this project, we reveal one by one a top 5 in a particular chosen category. And our category is tennis players because we love tennis. So we'll just have a quick look at this. We've got a lot of things open at the moment. Let's just try and find these guys. Here they are. So here it is now, the top 5 tennis players. Now, if you try and click number 1 or 2, it doesn't work. That's something we're going to teach you how to do. These aren't activated yet. You have to do it in order of 5. We've got Nao Hibino from Japan, and number 4 is Max Matera from Germany. Number 3 is the mighty Luisa Chirico from the USA. Desiree is also from the USA, and our number 1 top 5 tennis player is Martin Fuchsovix from Hungary. So these are all people that have played at the Australian Open, and we've done some photography for them, and so we thought we'd use them because we just love the tennis and we go there every year. And you can check that out on Photos by Passy, our website there. But now we need to get back to where we were, which is going to be here. All right, so that's the idea of it, that you have to click in order and your top 5 will be revealed. So in this lesson, we're going to learn how to place a background image on the form. So notice our form has a background image rather than the normal color. And just before we continue, remember we are a bit of a slow talker. So on this video, if you go to the YouTube Tools cog and set the player speed to 1.5 speed or 1.75 speed, and the video will probably flow along a lot better for you than just watching it at normal speed. But we're going to work out how to place that background image on the form, which kind of makes it look a lot nicer, how to resize and style the colored buttons. So you notice we've got these colored buttons down the side here, which don't look like normal buttons. So we'll show you how you make those, and how to use a visible property on objects. So that's what we were doing on that top 5. The pictures here and these names of the people were all invisible when we started, but we changed the visible property to make them show up, and enabled property. That's how we got it so you couldn't click buttons 1 and 2. You had to start at the bottom and go in order, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I'm going to show you that. So that's a flow path in the program which the user had to follow. So we're going to show you a programming and pseudocode for the design, how to do that. And then we'll show you how to make an additional application. Well, actually, we won't show you everything. That's going to be the challenge task, and that's going to teach children about healthy fruits. So let's continue here. So you don't have to do tennis players. That's just our thing because we've been photographing at the Oz Open now for about 3 years and just love tennis because I used to play it as a kid. But you could do the top 5 guitarists if you want, maybe the top 5 greatest NBA players of all time, who your top 5 are. Other students of ours have done the top 5 rappers of all time, or maybe even the top 5 strongest straw hats. Okay, so that's your options for this. So pick a topic you're interested in. But if you want to do tennis, you can get all of the downloaded images and everything you need for free for this trial lesson. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is get that background image onto the form. So if you click anywhere on your form to bring up its properties, in the properties there is a property called background image, and on there there's a triple dots builder icon, which will take you into a builder screen. Okay, so it's just like adding pictures into picture boxes, adding the image in. You just click on that triple dots builder button there, and then you can navigate to where your image is. So you click the import button here, navigate down, there's our one there, background 3. So you click on that image and then single click on that and then click open. Okay, and the import process you can see is basically the same as what we've been doing for picture boxes in previous lessons. So if you have not done the jumping button beginners lesson for this course, it's important you go back and do that so you understand the fundamentals of this visual basic VBNet IDE, Interface Development Environment. Okay, so you just single click on that, click the open button, that's step 3, and then you should have your image appear on the background of your form. But you will need to change the background image layout to stretch, so that stretches it out to fill the size of your form, okay? So that's something else we've already done for picture boxes. Now, if you're doing your own top 5 and you need to have a background image, you'll have to find an image, and what the go is to take it into Photoshop and use adjustments to do Gaussian blur, to blur it a bit and also make it a little bit darker. That's what we did with our image, just so it looks better as a background image and it's not all sharp and crisp and interfering with everything. Now, if that's too much trouble and you can't figure out how to do it and it doesn't work out, look, just use the normal web colored background like we've done in previous projects. So that is the background image for the form. Now, the actual form design, we need to get these 5 buttons on the form, 5 picture boxes, and these 5 names, which are actually going to be buttons, and we'll explain why in a little while. So the first thing is, notice we've got a little ICO image here, a little tennis ball in the corner. So in the downloads, the free downloads for this lesson, there is the ICO image which you can get. And in the form properties, the name of the form, just leave that as form 1. Don't go changing that, or that's going to mess up the program. Back image, see later. Well, we just did that. Maybe my slides got out of order. And the text is top 5 tennis players. So the text property is top 5 tennis players here. All right, now you need a label, so you drag a label out onto the form. You just leave its name as the default label 1, and the text is just top 5 tennis players there, and I think we bolded it and made it a blue color. Now this first button, how you get these square colored buttons is, that's gonna be called BTN NBR1, so it's important you give that name because we're gonna be referring to that very name in the program code, and the font needs to be 20 point. For color on that is white. Size, now 70 for the size will give you a square, okay? So that gives it the nice square shape. The back color, we just went to the web colors and chose teal. It was the color we used there. And the flat style, if you make it standard, that will work well. The text we've put in there is just the number 1, and text align is in the middle center. So you'll need to set all those properties on the button, and then you should have a nice colored square button, and the other ones are all the same, except this one's called BTN NBR2. The back color of that one is slate blue. The next one's BTN NBR3, and back color is sky blue on that one. BTN number 4, back color is medium spring green. And the last one there, we've got BTN number 5 with a back color of dark blue. So that'll get all the buttons set up down the side of your form there, and they're nice little colored squares. You don't have to use those colors. Use whatever colors goes well with your images. Notice we've chosen a teal because he was wearing a kind of teal green shirt in the photo, and Louise has got a nice sky blue and orange outfit on here, so we chose sky blue. So it kind of looks good if the button colors link in with the colors in your pictures. That kind of visually links it all together and makes it look good, okay? So that's just a little tip from sort of our days of doing photography. We've noticed stuff like that. Now with the picture boxes, you can just call them pick 1, pick 2, pick 3, pick 4, pick 5. Now to get those nice sort of white borders around them, you change the border style to be fixed 3D. Now, these are actually buttons here. Now, the reason why is because with the buttons, you can get this nice white kind of box border around the outside, which you cannot get with a label. And also in a later project, we're going to expand upon this. So this is like an opening screen. And when you click on this button here, it'll take you to another screen, which kind of has a player bio. So we'll show you how you can set up multiple screens and levels in a application, but that's way down the track in a further lesson. For today, that just needs to be BTN name 1. Make sure you give it that exact name for the program code. We've got everything there that it's, you know, white with the teal color, so it all matches up. Middle center for some alignment. So the text is just Marton Fuchsovic's, his name. And the next button's all the same kind of deal, except, you know, it's going to be slate blue there on the background. Desiree's name needs to go in that one. Louisa in the next one, make sure you call it BTN name 3, BTN name 4, and BTN name 5, okay? So that will get everything set up on the form, which we need for this project. So do that for whatever topic you're doing. Pause the video and do that now in your new VBNet Windows project, Windows Forms project, and then come back to the video to continue. All right, so that form layout, you've got it all in there and set it all up. So it needs to be tested. So that's very easy. Just do a quick test run in Visual Studio by clicking that green arrow start button we've used in previous projects, and everything should appear on the form as it is here. So that should be all good. If it isn't, you'll need to go back and check that and see what happened. So we've used those button objects like we mentioned rather than labels because they look better with that white border. In the later project, we will make them clickable to open up different screens. Now, we haven't got an exit or a close button here, so just click the X up the top right-hand corner of the window, just like you would for any Windows application, and that will close the form down. Okay, so we're not putting an exit or close or quit button, just use that X in the top corner for this particular project that we're doing. Now, an alternative layout, if you want to move the items and pictures around, which some people believe looks better. I just like the pictures first because I'm a photographer and I love pictures. But this is kind of actually probably a better layout actually, where you've got the number and then you have your name buttons and then all your pictures are on the right. So if you want to do it that way around, that's all a-okay as well. Now, sorry, there was a little tip there too where we need to tell you, now to move these all at once, what you do is you just hold down Shift, so you hold down the Shift key on the computer and go click, 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 and you'll have all of those picture boxes selected at once, and then you can drag them around as a group to change their position, okay? So that's a little trick, holding down Shift click, Shift click, Shift click to select multiple items on a VBNet form. So just remember that little Shift key holding down trick. All right, now the visible property, we don't want all those form objects to display all at once when the form loads up. We just want those left-hand side number buttons down here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we want them to show up. And then the idea is that when we click them, we're going to see the player name and the player picture appear. So this is a top 5 reveal. All right, so what we need to do is on every picture and every button that we've got here, in their properties, if you click on that picture, there's a properties visible, and we need to set that visible property to false, okay? And on this button, click on it. It also has the same sort of visible property, and set that to false, okay? So what will happen there if you need to set all those to false, and then when you run your form, it'll look like this. Okay, so when it runs, you can't see them, but they will still be there in your designer view while you're working on your project. It's just that when you run your project, they won't appear on the screen yet because we want them to appear when the buttons are clicked. So the button click event is going to trigger something which makes those appear on the form. All right, now the sort of program code we need to do that is double click on that first button, BTN number 1, and that should open up the VBNet code editor like we've done in previous projects. So it'll write all this part for you, the click event, so don't try and write that yourself, and the end sub. Now in this section, what you need to do is make pick1.visible equals true. So we're going to change that property back to true, and that'll make it appear so that we can see it. And btn name1 for that first player name dot visible equals true as well. Okay, so if you add that code in, what will happen is that when you run your program, okay, so we just use the green arrow start to run it as usual, and you click onto that button number 1, you should have the picture box and the button for the name both appear. All right, so that's the idea of that code, that in the original form design, we set visible false so that when you first run it, these things are not visible, but when you click the button, we've added code into that button click event so that they will become visible. All right, so that's the basis of how the reveal for the top 5 is going to be working. All right, now you need to add the same sort of coding for buttons 2 to 5. So each of those buttons, you're going to double click on them, go into the code editor, and add these lines of code. For button number 2, pick 2 needs to become visible, pick name button needs to become visible, and so on. So you need to do all 4 of those, and these sections of code can easily be made. Again, another shortcut is just do the first one, and then you can highlight this code with your mouse and Control-C to copy it, all right, so that you've got all of that code. And then you can just Control-V, paste it in this gap for the next one. So you've done this one, you've got the code, just highlight it with your mouse, Control-C, go back to your actual form design, double click on button number 3, which will open up this, and then you can just paste the code in there and carefully change it to pick 3 and BTN name 3, because this one's for button number 3. Then you can go back to your form, click on number 4, and just then when the code opens up, just Control V, paste it in and change it to pick 4, name 4. So that'll save you a bit of time when you get good at that, using a Control C, Control V to copy similar code and then just change the code to suit the situation for that subroutine you're in. All right, so another little handy shortcut and tip. So we need to test all that. So when we test the form, we get the pictures revealed as we click the button. So here we've just sort of clicked number 4, we've clicked number 2, we've clicked number 5, or maybe we click number 2 and then number 4, number 5. So at the moment you can jump all over the place in the order. So you can click them in any order, but it does do the reveal. Okay, so that's kind of version 1 of the program complete, where we do have the reveal happening. But the final stage of development to make version 2 is we want to have a processing path so they cannot click on 1, 2, 3, or 4. They've got to click on 5 first. And then after 5 is revealed, button 4 will become activated. They can click on button 4 and then this one will become revealed. And then that will send a trigger to activate button 3. So when they click on button 3, 3 will appear. So they'll have to do it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 order. So we do this by using the enabled property. So these buttons numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the moment, they're all enabled and clickable when the form starts. But if in the program code you set enabled false on them, they will not be clickable and they will not do anything until in the code you set enabled back to true. A bit how we kind of did the visible true, visible false sort of setting and coding. It's the same sort of idea. So the user will have to click button 5, then they'll have to do 4, 3, 2, 1. So we want to force that program flow and that order into what they can do on the form. All right, so this will be good skills because we'll need this sort of thing in later projects as well. All right, now before we do this, as we've discussed in previous lessons, it's great to write some pseudocode. To write some pseudocode before you sort of get into the nitty-gritty of putting it all into VBNet, okay? So pseudocode is the way to go. And once we've got that pseudocode for the algorithm, which is the processing steps. So the processing steps, the logic we need to accomplish a task in a program is called an algorithm, okay? So algorithm is the special name for that. So the pseudocode to describe the algorithm is here. So when the program starts up and the form loads, we want to initialize the object so that button 5 is enabled, so people can click that, but the other buttons are not enabled. So 4, 3, 2, and 1, we need them so that if people click on them, nothing will happen, okay? They've got to click 5. So if button 5 is clicked, and of course it is enabled, then we make image 5 become visible, we make the player name 5 become visible, and then we've done 5, so now we can set button 4 to become enabled so that the person is now able to click 4, and if button 4 is clicked, and it is enabled, because we just did it here after they clicked button 5, then we can have the stuff for player 4, then we set button 3 to become enabled so they can do number 3, and on the code for number 3 we're going to set 2 enabled so they can do number 2, and finally on button number 2 we'll have some code in there that activates or enables button 1 so they can finish off. So they've got their top 5 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 order. All right, now the great thing about pseudocode is that it can be used for many different programming languages. So we could have this pseudocode, but we might be writing a Python program or a JavaScript program, okay? And just to show you, there's a link there, and we'll just go to that link to show you what JavaScript looks like. So this program here, they're going to check the date, get the date from what the time is on the computer clock, and our time's 6:10 p.m. at the moment. So if the time is less than 20, okay, in the 24-hour clock, 20 is 8 p.m., okay? 6 p.m. is 12 plus 6, 18. All right, so we should be less than that. And so it says document get element, in HTML here, all that fancy stuff means just put good A out as the message. All right, and the great thing about this JavaScript on W3 Schools is you can actually try it out yourself. So here's this program, let's try it out, and that's our code there. That gives you the full JavaScript, and when you click, this is what it'll actually put on the screen. Click the button to display good A, so we've got all this on the web screen, and when you try it, because it is before 8 p.m, it's going to say good day to us. Good day to you too. All right, so you can see this code here isn't greatly different from VBNet. It's a bit like the difference between French and Italian. They both came from Latin, so they're kind of similar. So, you know, Python, JavaScript, VBNet are all similar. So you might be thinking, oh, well, you know, we're wasting our time learning VBNet because VBNet is not a real programming language, and you know, we should be learning Python or JavaScript. Well, the thing is, look, we're just doing a language which is easy to learn, all right? So Python and JavaScript are fairly easy as well. We could have done them. But the nice thing about VBNet is you get the form screen as well. In JavaScript, you have to sort of mess around making a web page to get the screen, which isn't too bad. And in Python, it's really bad because you have to use some screen builder app and kind of hand code the screen by hand, ancient caveman style. But the code is actually nice to write. It's just that the screens at the moment with the technology they've got, from what I've seen anyway, are a real pain in the neck to code. So we're using VBNet. We're a VBNet fan. That's why we got the purple shirt on here, all right? So let's just work on that first bit of pseudocode. So when the form loads, we need to make button 5 enabled, so opening click, and 4, 3, 2, 1 are not enabled. So remember, to get into the form load subroutine, what you want to happen straight away when the form loads, you just double click anywhere in this kind of background area of your form. So if we like double click there on our form, what will happen is it'll write this subroutine for us. The form 1 loads. This is what's going to happen when the form first loads up. And the subroutine ends here. And in between, we just need to carefully type in all of this code. So you carefully type in this code here, btn number 5 dot enabled equals true, because we want that button enabled. All the other ones we're setting their enabled property to false. And we're doing it in the code. We're not doing it back on the actual form by clicking on something and changing its properties. You can also change the properties of something on the form in the code as well, which is the way we're doing it this way. So again, this is new learning. You may not have realized we can change the properties within the code. We don't have to click on the big properties list and find that property and change it. Now, sometimes when you're typing a code too, like if you spell something wrong, you'll get a little red squiggle underline in here. So if you called this enabled and left the L out of something, that'll come up with a red squiggle. So just remember, the red wavy line means you've either spelt something wrong, or if you put button here, button 5, a name which isn't the correct name for what it is on your form, that'll red squiggle too, because it can't find the name on the form. So that's what those little red squiggles are about. If you get them, check your spelling. If you get them, check the names of the items on the form and check they match the names in the program code, is the other great tip if you have problems with your code. All right, so notice that the 5, yeah, we've done that now. And if we run the program, notice that these ones are actually disabled and 5's enabled. If you look carefully, you can see this light blue box around it, which is the kind of way VBNet's actually indicating that this is an active button. And it's just leaving these ones all normal because they're not enabled at the moment. And so what will happen is that if you click anywhere on buttons 1, 2, 3, and 4 after adding that previous code in the form load subroutine, nothing will happen, okay, because they're not enabled at the moment. But if you click number 5 here, the one which is enabled, what will happen is that you will get the picture and the name revealed for number 5, okay? So this is what we're doing with this code. We've now set up so that they must click number 5 first. All the other buttons are not enabled, so clicking them does nothing. And we're starting to force a program flow order into here. All right, now we just have to do similar things one by one to the other buttons in reverse order, okay? So the first thing is after 5 is clicked, 4 is enabled. So here's the code for button number 5. So notice we've got down here btn number 4 enabled equals true. All right, so on button 5, we need to have that btn4, the next one above it on the form, that's the one that becomes enabled. All right, now step 2 is after 4 is clicked, 3 is enabled. So this is the code for btn number 4, so find that in your program, and you need to carefully type in this code with the internal documentation, the single quote green lines there that you write to explain what the program's doing, that you must include in your programs, and btn number 3 dot enabled equals true. And then it's a similar story. After 3 gets clicked, you need to enable button number 2. And finally, after number 2, when btn number 2 code is here to show the stuff for number 2, then you need to enable button number 1 so they can do that last button that's up the top. Now on button number 1, you don't need anything. That's the last button, so it's not going to enable another button above it or anything like that. So it doesn't have any enabled sort of code on it, all right? So another thing you'll notice is that in this code, we didn't use the if and if statements from our pseudocode, because in the pseudocode design, in case we're doing it in JavaScript or Python, we actually had stuff like if button number 2 is clicked and button number 2 is enabled, then you could show the things, all right? But it's actually taken care of behind the scenes in the events process and properties for VBNet. So we don't have to worry if button number 2 is clicked because VBNet's built an event handler here. Okay, this is event driven programming in VBNet, which is another reason why it's such a fantastic language. So if the user clicks on the button, well then the button's been clicked. So we don't need a program code checking if button number 2 has been clicked because the click event handles that situation. And then we don't have to have if button number 1 is enabled because setting the properties within the code has done that. So VBNet has this properties list that it can check while it's running and it sees whether the button's enabled or not. So it does all that figuring out itself, okay? So that's kind of something just to realize. If you're starting to kind of piece this together, it might make sense. At the moment in the course, it might not make any sense at all. You might just think, what the hell's he going on about with event-driven programs and if this and that sort of thing? Don't worry about it. Just try and sort of get a bit of an exposure to it. This lesson later on will become a lot clearer when we've done a lot more of this. So when we test this, we find good news that we cannot click like buttons 1, 2, and 3 here. We had to click 5, and then we had to click 4, and one by one they're getting revealed from the 5th one all the way up to number 1, where we get to Marton, my favorite player. That guy is just awesome to watch. He has an awesome attitude. He's so strong. He's so determined. I just love the guy. And hopefully he'll be at the Oz Open this summer and we'll be getting some more pics of him. All right, so this completes the coding for the Top Favorites application. So if yours is all running and working perfectly like this, give yourself a round of applause. Yeah, but we've still got something else for you. All right, so the challenge task. So the challenge task for this lesson, we're going to make a simple application to help young children learn about healthy fruits, as well as check that they know their alphabetic order, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all that sort of stuff. So the idea with this is it's a reveal process as well. So first up, all these 3 buttons come up, orange, strawberries, and apple, 3 of the healthy fruits we should all be eating, not just young children. And Passy does eat all of these. It makes you a better programmer too, because Passy told you that. Okay, so apple, when you click apple, apple gets revealed. You cannot click the other ones, but as soon as apple is clicked, see orange has been made active here, it's been enabled. So next you'll be able to click the orange button and you should have your orange appear. Then last of all, you should click strawberries because it's A, O, and S for alphabet order. So they should be revealed. Apple first, you can't click on strawberries yet. You'd next have to do orange and then you do S. So it has to be A first, O second, S third, okay, to teach them alphabetical order as well and show them pictures of the yummy, healthy fruits, nature's candy fruits. All right, now some pseudocode just to help you out with that. You need to do the same sort of thing as we did in the program we've just built on the top 5. So this shouldn't be too big a challenge really. You're just consolidating and checking that you understood what we did with the top 5 program. So we're just going to initialize it. So apple's the only enabled button because it's the first button in alphabetical order they need to do. And strawberries and orange are not enabled, okay? So that's in your form load process. And then we just have if, you know, the apple button's clicked, and it's enabled, which it should be because we set that up in the load process, then make the apple image become visible, and then you can set the orange button to become enabled because orange is the next one in alphabetical order that needs to be revealed. So when the orange one's clicked, just make the images become visible. And finally, we're ready to do strawberries and set strawberries button so they can click that and then make the strawberries appear. And for that exit button, just make the form close to end the program, okay? So there is an exit button down the bottom here as well. It just needs a close command in VBNet to close down the program. So rather than use the red X up the top corner, there's also the option of clicking this exit button here to close it down. Now that form heading, if you're wondering how we got that sort of happy, healthy fruits font, that one's called Snap ITC, and we just use a font size of 36 point on that. Okay, so our fun and games course, but before we get to that, we'll just show you, where are we here? The free downloads. Now we're not in the free downloads. How did that happen? Okay, so with this lesson, let's go actually super large icons. All right, so in this lesson, you get all these downloads for free, because if you're a teacher watching this, we want you to trial this lesson with your students and see how it goes. And if it goes well, let us know at passyworld@hotmail.com. If it doesn't go well, let us know at passyworld@hotmail.com. So we'll give you the apple image, the orange and the strawberries, plus the ICO image, which you can put in the corner of the form. The background for the tennis one. So if you want to do the tennis one, if you love tennis, you can get that background, and you can get the tennis players as photographed by Photos by Passy at the Oz Open. And you can also get the PDF. And we'll show you the PDF, what the PDF is. Here we go. So the PDF just gives you all those slides we did. So some students don't want to sit down and watch a video. They just want to quickly go through here and go, oh yeah, here's my form design. Right, I'll just get all that on my form. Good, that's done. Right, so I need to test this out, test the closes. Yep. And they just want to read through and then look at the code and put the code in quickly. So some students will like that rather than the video, just using the PDF sort of guide there, which takes you through step by step what to do, as well as giving you the challenge task. Other students like to use the actual Word document. So Word document, this is kind of like a book, like it's a little chapter out of a book. This would be one program in the book of games programs. And maybe we will actually turn all this into a book one day if we ever get the time. An ebook, which you can get at a bargain price, because we like that. We don't want to make it too hard for you. So yeah, some students just like reading through this, and then it's got the code for them, and you can even sort of get the code here out of Microsoft Word and copy and paste it into there. And if your program's not working, give you the pseudocode, just like we did in the lesson. And if your program is not working, this is a complete full code listing. So if yours isn't working for some reason, you could just check against this full code listing and make sure you've got everything in there. Like a common thing our students do is when they're editing stuff or something, somehow they lose the end class, and then all this stuff is unrecognizable because it doesn't have the end class. Remember, there's public class form 1, which we did in a first lesson. That's the front cover of the book, and end class is the back cover of the book. So you've got to have them at the top and them at the bottom for the front and back covers. We've also got here the healthy fruits task, and some things about, oh yeah, how you get those frames around the picture boxes is you just set the border style property to fix singles. So we tell you about that and give you the pseudocode to help you do it as well. And so that's there. And an additional thing for teachers, another resource is that what we always get our students to do is, as they finish each of these programs in the games course, we just have this standard template with 8 items they have to do and reflect upon, and keep a journal of their progress and how they were going. So the name of the project, which would be top 5 programs. So this one's kind of an early one, so it's got some helper stuff in there. So they'd snip out the design, their form, and how it runs when it's finished. They have to write in words what they were making in this project. This project, what objects did we do in this one? Well, we did buttons, labels, and something else, picture boxes. What coding did we learn? So they talk about the coding here. Difficulties. So if yours all worked, if the miracle happened, it is okay to say there were no difficulties encountered. And what additional features? This project could have the following items added to it. You could do a reset button that reinitializes everything and hides those pictures so that someone can redo it again if they wanted to. Okay, so that's something which could be added, a reset button. And maybe you would like to set that for yourself as sort of challenge task 2. Just try and do that. Why not? Why not try and learn VBNet programming as much as you can? And how you can do that is going to our website where we have the VB Games course at passyworldofict.com, VB Games, because maybe you're wondering what order you should be doing the course in. And let's find where that is. Should be the E one, this one here. All right, so you go to the VB Games page here and it's got the projects in the order you're supposed to have done them. So you should have done the jumping button one first. So we keep saying that. Make sure you've done jumping button first. You can click there to go to the lesson. It's got a link to the video and all of that stuff. Then there is the desktop clock and the alarm clock. And this one will be slotting in here. We haven't done the web page for it yet. We're just doing the video. But this one here with the free downloads will be slotting in here. So you'll be able to go to that. Click here to go to the lesson. Scroll down and there'll be free downloads at the bottom of it with links to just get it all downloaded. Okay, so now I think that is all we needed to say. And so thank you for joining us for another VBNet Games lesson. We hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had the player on 1.5x because we're slow and we dilly-dally around, as my mother used to say. And if you found this video helpful, give it a big thumbs up like, because that's really good. And subscribe to our channel. We're getting so close to having 1,000 subscribers, which will be great because that's something we're aiming for. A personal goal we set for 2019 was to reach 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and we're very much on track for that. And plus, by you subscribing, you'll help us, but you'll help yourself because then you get to see when we've released a new video, which is every week or two, and you can get all the latest videos and get up to speed with programming in VBNet because it is so much fun. And we'll see you in the next video lesson.